learning how to sit with the hard feelings and to ride the waves of discomfort and build your window of tolerance to do the hard thing is the way to actually advance your life. A lot can be said for the athlete mentality. I devoted 5 years of my life to being a rock climber and spent a lot of time in campgrounds around the world with pro climbers, and I saw the obsessional nature. I share that attribute. There's just so much joy and passion in climbing and in taking something as far as you can. And so we want to harness that same spirit. In fact, when I became a therapist, I thought to myself, what can I do that has the same feeling as rock climbing, that has the same flow state to it as rock climbing? Often during my day of sessions, sometimes I'll see 8 to 10, I've seen 11 clients in a day before. And when I have one of these long days, I think of myself on El Capitan, which I actually have climbed before. And I see myself, early in the day, maybe on the lower third, and it's very easy to get intimidated by El Cap and to back off is the phrase that's used. There's something called El Cap knee, where often people experience little injuries that are fairly insignificant, but that cause them to back off the climb. And they basically get overwhelmed by what's ahead of them and they can't face the obstacle. And then I think to myself, if I was climbing, how I would be investing myself in every little move, and I would just be getting lost in the flow state of rock climbing. And that helps me to get back into the flow state of therapy and to really tune into what's happening and to not get overwhelmed by what's coming and to be really in the moment. To be a good athlete is to be in the moment. Being an athlete is great. If you're able to pull that off, well done to you. But for most people, it's not the best life choice. It's a moonshot and your body can only do it for a certain number of years and the options afterwards are not that great. So often it's better to harness this mentality, to apply it into life in a way that's a contribution to your community, that gets valued, that earns you financial resources, that establishes you in the world. My idea is to become an emotional athlete as the way to widen the frame from being an athlete. And athletes work on their window of tolerance in a narrow domain. Becoming an emotional athlete is to work on your window of tolerance, but in a much wider domain. So you take in everything that's going on and you identify what needs to be done, which may be outside of a narrow domain. Maybe in order to move your business forward, you first have to end a relationship or you first have to do something that's hard. Facing into the hard thing and then learning how to sit with the hard feelings and to ride the waves of discomfort and build your window of tolerance to do the hard thing is the way to actually advance your life. And what that means in practice is widening our window of tolerance or what we can feel. In the burnout zone, our window of tolerance is narrow and we're not able to contain the wave of activation. And so anything above this threshold is overwhelming to us. Anything below this threshold is boring to us or collapsed or numb. And so as we do this work of sitting with our feelings and developing more conviction in what we're doing, the window of tolerance starts to widen until the whole activation wave can be contained. And then at this point, our capacity can tolerate the things that life throws at us. And so we don't get spun out. We don't operate from our lower selves and go into reactive patterns or choose things that are suboptimal because we've made enough mental space for the things that come at us. And one way to widen the window of tolerance is to keep facing our avoidances. And in doing that, we expose ourselves to the things we don't want to do that are important. And we're forced through exposure therapy to develop tolerance. And exposure therapy goes with mindfulness. We need to do the things we don't want to do the hard things, and then create the space to absorb the feeling of doing the hard things. And so facing avoidances is core to success and core to developing a healthy success where you enjoy it. I have several high-level executives that I work with that feel like athletes to me. They have this joie de vivre or a zest for life. They are really heartfelt and passionate, and the game of business is the sport that they apply themselves in. I think we're able to do that to the degree that we can slow down and connect to ourselves and appreciate what we're doing and get into connection with the activity of business. Rather than treating it as a to-do that we have to get beyond. Impatience leads us to rush, leads us to feel bad while we're working, and the actual intrinsic feeling of the work becomes hollow. And if you work in that way, you're not cultivating your work as a life pursuit. The two avoidances that I see the most when I look at business people are, number one, sales, and number two, systems. With sales, people have a hard time putting themselves out there, of risking disapproval, of looking like an idiot, of being rejected. And so when we do this work, we have to make enough space to feel those hard feelings of rejection and social ostracization in order to develop the ability to take risks and put ourselves out there. And so this is an area that's often being undertended, particularly by people with family businesses or small professional businesses like accountants, therapists, physiotherapists. So sales is a big area of focus, and then systems is the other big area. As you're growing, there's some painful work in laying the pipes before the house even exists. And often you can't get the feedback for a long time that it's valuable, and there's some leaning into the process to build what's needed. And it doesn't feel good. Often you feel like you're wasting your time, like there'll never be a house here. Why am I doing that? You have to open up enough space to not doubt yourself and collapse the whole endeavor. So both of these, sales and systems, there's some exposure therapy of doing the hard thing, and then there's the mindfulness component of making sure you give yourself enough self-tending to be able to do the hard thing. And I like to create meditation time right before I do the hardest thing in my day. So I'll sit and get really quiet for maybe 10-15 minutes before I send the email that is going to be a disappointment to the person that I'm sending it to. Or I do my creative work, which is hard to get the ball rolling on. I first get really still, and I let my cup fill. Then once my cup's full, then I can do the hard thing. And that's a very important practice to create. If you don't do that, you'll never do the hard things, and you'll stay in tactical hell. There's a paradox in building a high vibrational business in that growth is not always a good thing. And we need to have the right pace of growth, or healthy growth, that the organism can handle. If it's too much growth, it's like a cancer that kills us. And so the standard small business that aims to grow, and they grow kind of faster than they can handle, and then they start to tap out because they haven't built the systems to keep growing, and they start to burn out, and the person just simply can't do the hours required, and there's a slowing down of growth. With the high vibrational business, I recommend going slower and building the systems well with a sense of pride and really enjoying what you're doing and tending to yourself. And then very slowly, as the systems can handle it, the business starts to take weight. And then at some point, you cross over where the other people are petering out. This is the high vibrational business. At some point, that growth compounds and there's a real takeoff, and your business can handle it. And so you're not overstraining your body at that point. And you've brought on the team members gradually to handle the growth. That early growth can easily lead to overstraining yourself and tapping out early. So really playing the long game is what's important here. I like the metaphor of a wave for business. And in an interview, I heard Kelly Slater say that in order to catch a wave, often it needs an extra paddle. You think you've caught it, but he's learned you just paddle a little more than you think you need to in order to catch it. I think that's true in business too. But once you're on that wave, once you start to get the takeoff, The most important thing is that you stay focused on the few feet ahead of you. If you get too far into the future, if you get distracted by what's in the past, you'll fall on the wave. And so in order to keep riding this wave that's going to build over time, you just have to stay with it in a way that you're investing in the things that the business needs right now. One of the things I've noticed with the most successful clients I have is they do what the business needs, not what they most want to do. So the business has its own intelligence and they're already tapped into that, and they're disciplined about doing the thing that's needed, not the thing that's whimsical or a side quest. When it comes to strategy, there are two levels of focus that matter. There's the long-range vision, which is the mountain range that you're headed toward. Even if you don't know the specific peak yet, but you have a general sense of the mountain range, that gives you enough direction to start walking toward it. Then the only thing that matters at that point is what the next step is. I think we die in the middle. If we try to think through every step in order to reach that mountain range, we get overwhelmed and we can't deal with that level of complexity. So when we're doing our strategy, we need to get really quiet and really loosen up and allow ourselves to get excited by what the vision is. And the important thing is, if I were to get there, would that be a great life? Would that be what I want, ultimately? And regardless of how hard it is to get there, once I'm there, is that worthwhile? Would I love to be there? And once you have a sense of that, you lock it in and you don't challenge it all the time. It's very easy to question your vision. It's better to have a stable, when you're at your deepest place and you get a lock on what your vision is, to hold that in a sacred place and not to, in your down moments, attack that. So the long range vision tells you where you're headed, and then the next thing is the next step. And so I recommend meditation for this. So you can start with thinking your way linearly through the problem with your eyes closed and get a sense of what the options are, what you're valuing, what you might want to consider, and then letting your mind go quiet and sitting with yourself and developing a deep sense of self-contact and trusting in your deeper parts to surface an answer to the question of what the next step is. And when you get really quiet, often these little sparks happen, a little bubble comes up that tells you, I need to reach out to this person, or all the things I am doing, it's really that task. That's the one that's going to move things forward in the most direct way. Often it's one of the hardest things to do that you've been putting off, that when you cultivate enough space, your mind tells you, there's that thing that you haven't been doing, but it's really the important thing in order to move things forward. Often it's something like getting reviews or putting your website up or firing someone or doing something that you really don't want to do. So when you get quiet enough, you get that information. You still may not have the energy to do that thing, but now you know what your next step is. Once you know what the next step is, then you want to get that step ready, do whatever pre-work is needed that sets it up, doing everything until you hit the hard moment where you have to hit send or face the hard feeling, basically. And so go as far as you can until you hit that moment where you feel like, I just don't want to do this thing that I've realized I need to do. And at that moment, it's important to create some space for yourself. To do the hard thing, you need to be able to feel the hard feeling. You get quiet, close your eyes, and allow yourself to feel the difficulty of what you're doing, and feel the discomfort as a wave of energy that comes through. And when you're doing that, you're opening that space up. You can do some deep breathing or any technique that you have, but you're opening some embodied space. At some point, the wave starts to subside. You start to feel, okay, I can do this. Might be 2 minutes, might be 10 minutes, whatever you need to do the hard thing. But at some point, your body says, okay, I can do this. Don't think too much. You come out of that state and you do it and move your life forward. In motorcycling, there's a concept of locking on the target or locking where you want to go. And if you look where you want to go, the motorcycle naturally takes you in that direction. if you look at the thing you want to avoid, for instance, a lamppost, you'll find yourself pulled toward that thing. And so as you're riding the wave, you're keeping your focus on the thing that you want to happen, and in a short-term way. You're not getting distracted by what's far out. That helps to keep the momentum of what you're doing going forward. The thing I see a lot with clients is perfectionism and focusing on a domain that's not the most important thing to move things forward. And an example of this is at Nordstrom, employees could either fold clothing or they could greet customers, which was the thing the business wanted them to do. And they found that employees would over-focus on the folding of clothes and not tend to customers. And the reason is that the clothes were easy. The clothes they could get in a rhythm and a flow with, whereas the customers, they had to face the discomfort of a human interaction. We need to open up mental space and emotional tools, increasing our window of tolerance, so that we can do the hard thing, which is not in the domain where we like to camp out. Most people tend to stay with the thing that they like to do and that they know how to do. So a salesperson who runs a business, they continue to over-focus on sales and they don't invest in systems or other aspects of the business. Or someone else who came up through accounting, they really want to make their accounting system AAA, but they're not developing their sales system, for instance. When we open up mental space, we get the information that comes from our systemic intelligence, our strategic intelligence, that tells us what we need to do. That's not what we would do by default or out of habit, but it's the hard thing to actually move forward. One of the most important things is not to overthink and talk yourself away from the table where the food is. Often it's easy to think of the reasons not to do something, and it requires a certain grit to stay with the hard thing, to have the conflict and stay at the table. And so a lot of the time thinking gets us in trouble or takes us away from what we need to do. And that's a lot of why we create the space and we slow down and tune in so that we can develop that resilience to stay in the game. As a sensitive, thoughtful person, which a lot of my clients are, so I'm guessing a lot of my viewers are as well, the world gets better when you succeed. A lot of insensitive people run our world. And so I'm on the side of you taking the risks and developing the courage and doing the hard things to get your ideas in the world, because I truly believe the world gets better when you do that. People that are reflecting and developing their inner life, they need more support and courage to go forth in the world. And so that's the aim of my videos, to try and support you in that. And the more high vibrational people we can gather, and the more high vibrational people you can gather around you, the more we can nurture this whole way of doing things in the world. So I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I hope that you can tend to your own vibrational state and make your business more and more vibrational over time. I appreciate you watching, and if you have any responses, please let me know in the comments. I like to see feedback and I'll respond to you. And stay on your path. If it feels right to you, then you need to do it.